Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. Thanks for joining me on a Sunday night. I hope you guys are doing well. Well, it is the long-awaited triple conjunction that's taking place with the Mars North Node Uranus Conjunction taking place in the sign of Taurus. We decided to kind of bump the live readings to tonight to be able to do them tonight. So I'm excited to be taking a look at charts and reading for you guys live. We had a ton of people, so we've already got like 14, 15 people who have already signed up for the readings. Weren't entirely sure how many people we were going to get, so we're doing mini readings. I'm only going to be looking at this conjunction, so I have to kind of say this for a couple people who got in and asked questions. We are only doing readings for this conjunction, so we're going to be taking a look at how this conjunction that's taking place pretty much today through about the 11th of August is affecting our natal charts, predictions about how it's going to be affecting your personal charts. I'm going to pull it up and take a look at it. I know you guys are used to being able to get synastry readings and election dates and stuff, but we're not doing that tonight. So we're only going to be looking at the transits. If you want to be looking at transits for your astrology, I'll be back in 2 weeks. So next Saturday is going to be tarot. The Saturday after that will be astrology. You can join me then. But I just wanted to make an event purely dedicated to this transit. With that being said, I live in Las Vegas and there has been all kinds of crazy weather. Obviously, you guys have heard about the flooding, but we've had lots of electrical issues. Go figure, right? With Mars, North Node, Uranus. So I've had internet outages all week. We've had problems all week. I had it with my podcast. So please send good vibes and good juju to Uranus tonight so we can stay on the stream. For whatever reason, if we get disconnected, we're going to try to come back. But if we lose the connection, if we're not able to do readings, don't worry. We will make sure that we get you guys refunded. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Because we've already got about 14 or 15 people that are already in the queue. I've already got your guys' charts in my software, so we're just going to kind of move on through them. These are going to be mini readings that we're doing about this transit to your chart. Keep in mind that this transit will be something that will unfold over time. It's kind of like an eclipse. So when planets activate that 18 degrees of Taurus again, which will basically be down the road, so we're going to see that happening for you. Uranus will station in that degree. It's getting ready to retrograde at the end of August. It'll retrograde over that. In the fall, Saturn's going to square that. Next year, we're going to see Uranus go direct. It's going to come into conjunction with those degrees again in the new year. And finally, in the spring of 2024, we will see the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction around these degrees. So in simple terms, it's going to take time to unfold, right? When we have a Mars North Node Uranus conjunction, it's a rebirth of this energy. Usually we're just looking at the North Node conjunct Uranus, but as we speak right now, Mars is also joining the mix. So we're seeing lots of explosive energy. Who is being affected the most by this? Well, that's going to be anybody that's got placements from 17 to 19 degrees of the fixed sign. So if you are a Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, 17 to 19 degrees, you will be affected the most by this. If it's your birthday, holy cow, get a solar return reading because there's a lot going on to unpack there because that conjunction is going to be a big part of the next year ahead. When we have conjunctions to the North Node, nobody gets a pass because the North Node is kind of like megaphones and it is associated with everyone and our karmic path and what will be unfolding that is strange and mysterious and futuristic. If you guys want to know more about this conjunction, I put out a 3-hour plus webinar that I did. It's on my website. You can take a look. I make predictions for Bitcoin, the stock market, the future of agriculture and crops, fashion, health, the whole 9 yards. So I talk about what it means, how that will unfold over time. I have a PDF that gives you all the dates of how it's going to unfold, and I also talk about it generally for all of the rising signs. So if you want to know more about that, you can check that out. That's on my website. Otherwise, we're going to get into it. I got to tell you guys, we have so many people that are going to be getting readings tonight. We're probably only going to leave the readings up for maybe like another 10 minutes. So I'll leave it open for 10 minutes. If you want to get a reading this evening, if you want me to take a look at your astrology and see how this conjunction is going to be affecting you, there's a QR code right here. You can scan that. It's going to take you to my PayPal. You're going to make a donation. Donations are $50 for us to be doing a mini reading and talking about what's going to be going on with your astrology. I appreciate it. if you're just wanting to hang out with us and have a drink and listen to what's going to be coming, certainly we can learn a lot by looking at other people's charts. Would love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. Give me a comment, say hello, give me a thumbs up, and sharing is caring. So if you want to share the stream out or share it with other people who you know would want a reading, please do. If you like my reading style and if you dig it and you want to get a reading with me, check out my links below. You can get all my books. You can see my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can come and see me for a personalized reading, solar returns, natal charts, transits, progressions, synastry, elections. I do it all. I'm a triple threat, so my session is going to be a combination of what I see astrologically with the transits, also looking at tarot and what I'm picking up clairvoyantly. I like to work with the Sabian symbols and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's always an interesting interaction when you get a reading with me. All right, so let me go ahead and pull these up. I just want to say a big thank you also to all of our members, all of our subscribers. Those of you guys who are members, you guys are awesome. You're the real MVPs. We appreciate it. And if you guys get in the next 10 minutes and you want to make a donation for a reading, just let me know so that way I can make sure that your name matches up with your PayPal, because some of you guys have different stuff there. So I know people are going to come in and they're going to be like, oh, I wanted to get a reading and it's going to be too late. So we might get a little hairy, but let's see what we can do. So get in the queue now. Melanie, I paid for synastry. Considering I have Saturn 18 degrees, would you read my charts? Yes, Melanie, I have both charts. So if you want me to look just at your chart, I can, or I was going to pull both of them together and tell you what I see with the transits together in the composite. Let me know what you want. What's up, Paula? Hey, Rachel. Yeah, yeah, last call already. I was like sitting, because I was teaching a class this morning and I'm like watching them come in. I'm like, and there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. You know, not everybody can afford to get a full or a half-hour session, and also just like getting in with me is like anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks. So I thought it'd be a really good idea just to put this out there to be able to kind of help everybody who's looking to get insight into these readings. If you're new to my channel, what we do is we're going to pull the chart up. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to look at the outer wheel. The outer wheel are going to be the transits. What's up, Courtney? For people who are my members, if you want to get in, we can do that for you. That's going to be your question for the month. But yeah, I'm happy to do that for you. I do need to know this information. So I need to know your exact time, date, location of birth. So please spell out the month. I need to know the AM or the PM, the city, as well as the country. And we're going to be looking at this North Node Uranus conjunction. What's up, Aqua Goat? It's okay, Paula. I have your info. Don't worry about it. I got you in here. You're an OG. Some people I've been reading for years, so I almost like know their information by heart, you know? Like the Doogie Howser of astrology. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start with, we're going to be taking readings in the order that we received them. So we've got Aileen, Vera, Donald, Tracy, Susan, Samantha, Carrie, Bridget, Royston, I think that's right, Amiko, Paula, Mara, Margaret. You guys let me know if you're coming and watching the playback, totally fine, but I am going to be doing that in that order. So if I don't hear from you, you're still going to get my reading. So if you're watching the playback, hello, we missed you. Hope you're doing well. Let's go ahead and get into it. And we're going to get started with Aileen. Please let me know if I'm mispronouncing your name. I want to make sure I'm saying people's names correctly. So you have your sun in Capricorn. You're an Aquarius rising. And your moon is hanging out in the sign of Cancer. So you're an Aquarius rising. For you, traditionally, Aquarius is associated both with Saturn, but also modern day ruler is going to be Uranus. Thank you, Courtney. I'm going to plug you in next. So for you specifically, Eileen, thank you. You have your chart lord, Uranus, that's being thrown into this conjunction, all right? So specifically, if you take a look at where it's happening, I use Placidus. I'm going to use Placidus for transits always because it's going to be more accurate for timing. But if you're listening to your horoscope as an Aquarius rising, you're going to hear things like Mars, North Node, Uranus, or conjuncting in your home and family zone, okay? It's very close to your IC, so you might see the ricochets of that. Third house is like moving. It can be siblings. It can also be connected to your mind, communication, learning, traveling, right? But it's in your third house. So I'm questioning if this is going to be about things relating to how you communicate with family. Now, it's also involving Mars. So it's about moves, movement, action, anything in regards to taking initiative, because Mars is the Lord both of your third house, but also your 10th house. So there can be some bossiness that can be going on with siblings, and be feeling like siblings are taking like a much more assertive kind of, interaction with you, the way they're communicating with you. It can be expanded to like aunts, uncles, cousins, and siblings. This can also be that your mind is really fixated on, what am I doing for work? What am I doing for a living, right? So it's kind of wonky because you've got your 10th house Lord of Career moved to the bottom part of your chart. So you're wanting to take initiative in what you can control, things like movement, communication, things of that nature. Just generally speaking, watching your third house Lord of Vehicles come into conjunction with Uranus. You want to be really careful with vehicles, where you're driving, where you're walking, be aware of your surroundings. I think this is pretty potent for a Aquarius rising, because it's basically saying it's setting the stage where over the next several years, there may be a few spontaneous moves, right? There may be a sense of you wanting to learn astrology more and understand the lingo and be able to use it because it's a language, third house Uranus. It also may manifest as you deciding to get a digital vehicle, or to get a electric vehicle, or something that's going to be about getting around quickly, but something that's also going to be environmentally friendly with that connection to Uranus. I could see more short trips coming from this as well. I really love the fact that it's trining your sun and also your Mercury. So when you say like it's mind stuff, yes, the mind can definitely be lit up, especially because the 12th house is more the subconscious and things that are going on behind the scenes. And because you're already interested in things that might be like more spiritual or metaphysical with that Sun, Mercury in the 12th, you might start reading more about that stuff. There can be like writing, automatic writing, or channeling that can also come from this conjunction. So I'm really loving the fact that it has an outlet to make trines to your Sun and to your Mercury. Really good stuff. Now, when this happens, we're also going to be seeing that there is a trine from the moon in Virgo. So you've got like a grand Earth trine happening between your 12th, 3rd, and 7th house. And I feel like this is about learning how to read between the lines with other people and being able to kind of like analyze what people are thinking, or like what they're really saying. So a lot of it can be about how you are learning to like read people's like behavior or their body language or something in regards to like what they're thinking. Like you might even feel like you're kind of tapping into what people are thinking. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that's helpful. I would just say keep that in mind. Journaling can be really, really important right now. I think with the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction, I question if there's something that you're learning, if there's going to be a program, or if there's going to be a workshop or something that you're going to want to be taking as well. Be mindful, like I said, though, cars, traveling. I mean, that's a really strong place to have that in your 3rd house. It would be like, Aquarius rising, those early, because yours is kind of skewed. Sometimes even for Pisces rising and also for Sag rising, these can be people who are a little bit more prone to accidents. But if you're feeling like there's a lot going on for you mentally with the mind, keep in mind also that Taurus is still the body, so there's a need to kind of ground this stuff out. So if the nervous system is feeling fried or frazzled, you want to do things with your hands. That's going to ground you. So I'm wondering, like, could you do yoga poses where you're putting your hands on the ground? Are you working with crystals? Do you want to start gardening and working with herbs? You guys are going to hear me talk a lot about like these like earthy things throughout this live, because I'm going to try to give you guys insight as to how to better navigate this energy, because it's electric. Okay, so whenever you're dealing with anything electric with your hands, or if you're feeling like you're short circuiting, turn to things that you can do with your hands to ground you out. It can be as simple as like cooking, but I also have a feeling it might even be working with gadgets and doing things with your hands that can also kind of ground you out. So be mindful of like what you're touching. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me go ahead and plug Courtney in. Thank you for being a member, Courtney. Appreciate your support. All right, so we've got 10, 11, 82. And that was at 5:04 p.m. Olympia, Washington. You're very welcome. Really exciting, Aquagoat. It's nice to see that you have so many positive aspects. I think you're really going to navigate that a lot better. Okay, Courtney, so it looks like we have got you here, October 11th, 1982. Just want to confirm, make sure this is right. And that is at 5:04 p.m. in Olympia, Washington. So you are a Pisces rising, moon in Leo, sun in Libra. All right, so for you, Courtney, you have got the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction taking place in your Placidus second house. Money, resources, stability, anything in regards to security, being more resourceful is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Now, this is going to be making some slight oppositions to your Jupiter, which is your chart lord. I kind of feel like that can almost be like a pinball, kind of like ding ding. Like when you're spending money, you could be making money. When you're investing money, it could actually be paying off because it's going to ding off of your chart lord in the 8th, which can be about wealth. When we see Mars and the North Node and Uranus align in your second house, I see this for you as navigating your intuitive visions and thoughts when it comes to money and resources. So you might be using your intuition more when it comes to second house stuff. How you're spending money, where you're investing your money, right? You might be learning more about cryptocurrencies or kind of diversifying how you are spending or investing your money. I keep saying money because it's the second house. Now, Mars for you is also the ruler of your second house, Placidus. So it might feel like there is like a sudden impending investment that needs to be made or something that you need to buy very quickly. Or you're getting the intuitive hit to be like, I'm going to buy this. This is a good investment. I need to get this thing before something happens. And it can be related to food or energy. It can be gadgets as well. That's the other way that I could look at this. Now, Mars is also the ruler of Scorpio, which is the ruler of not just your second house of talent and investments, but it's also the ruler of your 9th house. So I'm wondering, did you make an impulsive investment recently? Are you wanting to suddenly purchase travel? Are you wanting to suddenly take a course or take a lesson or go somewhere? Because that's kind of the feeling. It can be like, okay, am I going to buy the ticket and I bought it? Am I going to buy the course and I bought it? So there can be things that are coming up that you're wanting to invest in that can be for your future, Uranus, or for feeling more stable or secure in your future. We can see radical changes and transformations happening in your second house in terms of your food preferences and what you're wanting to eat. So you might notice that there's intuitive eating going on. There's times that you're like, I don't know if I really want to eat that. It's not something I like anymore. And for everybody, the North Node Uranus conjunction is taking place at 18 degrees. Now, 18 degrees has associations with Virgo, so it's things like clients, health, pets. It can deal with health issues, right? Illnesses in some cases. So you can be feeling like intuitively, you know that you need to make changes in your diet for your health. And the health can be related to your thyroid or your throat. It can also just be about your body, just in general, like wanting to feel more solid or more strong. It can also be about you being more fixated in like jewelry and the power of jewels. You might be interested in certain materials or certain crystals or things like that. That is going to be making the body feel a little bit more strong. So you might feel like you're drawn to like wearing certain jewels on you for like spiritual powers. So that's something else that can kind of come up for you as well. Pay really close attention. You know, this is creating lots of squares to your moon, so it does seem a little emotionally destabilizing. Maybe you're noticing that your emotions affect your physical health, or your physical health really affects you emotionally. So you're not just going through what has been, you know, Saturn in opposition to your moon, you're on a square, but now we've got this square. So it's trying to get you to be more mindful of your health and your daily routine and what you're eating and making the connections to how your food actually physically affects your feelings, but it can also be your spending habits. So you watch out, I would watch out here. There can be some impulsive spending that can be going on. You do have some squares going on to Saturn, so there can be something that's happening where you're just like noticing that you're consuming or you're purchasing, or there's like a lot of like buying because you're feeling a little rattled. Everybody, guys, in about a week-ish, a week and a half, we're going to fully see the Mars come out of the square with Saturn, and we're also going to see the Sun come out of the opposition with Saturn. So North Node in Taurus has the tendency to want to hoard, want to purchase, want to have a lot of things. It wants to consume, right? It can't totally feel fulfilled because the North Node it's like a black hole. It's going to like suck everything up. So make sure if you're buying or if you're collecting or if you're eating things that it's something that is in moderation. That's the best advice I can give you. And yeah, I'll be looking into how you can listen to your intuition and use your intuition to invest in things or in your own personal talents that may in turn be really good, positive investments, because it might actually ping that Jupiter of yours and end up being something that kind of pays off, especially if it comes to natural resources. So I could see like some metals or anything in regards to agriculture or things in regards to food that could end up, bringing you something down the road. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Courtney. Those of you guys who are just tuning in, we are actually doing live readings for people who are making donations. So donations are pretty much closed at this point. So thank you guys for those of you guys who did hop on. We'll be back next week and the week after that. We're here every Saturday. Looks like the last person that slid in was Susan Price. So thank you, Susan. So on deck, we've got Vera, Donald, Tracy, and Susan P. So we're going to take Vera now. All right, Vera. Right on. Keep up with the jewelry. It's really good. It's really grounding for you. Find stuff that's connected to your throat chakra that you can wear around your throat. Chrysocolla, lapis, anything like that. Taurus also can do like emerald and other things. So depending on how bougie you want to get with it, yeah, let me know. All right. So I'm very excited to talk to Vera. Vera, are you here? Vera, do you want to tell us what your life is like right now? Vera is a Taurus sun. She's got an Aries rising and her moon is in Libra. So she's got the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction. It's on her sun. She is the embodiment of this transit. So this is very, very similar. So it looks like it's in the second house, but her second house cusp is actually 24 minutes, 24 degrees and 48 minutes. So it's in the first house, okay? So don't let your eyes deceive you. So for Vera, you've got your chart lord Mars coming into conjunction with your sun and also Uranus. So Uranus is the ruler of your 11th. To me, this feels like you're breaking out, you're breaking free. You want to be authentic, you want to be yourself, and there can be a little bit of, what's the word? You can be a little temperamental, I guess is the best way that I can kind of explain this. Technically, your sun is at a 19, so it's much more of like a Libra degree, so it's about relationships and partnerships. But it's really totally radically changing the relationship that you have with yourself, the relationship with your body, how you express yourself to the world. And maybe there is this sense of really empowering kind of authenticity that's kind of coming through. It's like you're just going to be hopelessly and gloriously yourself, whether that's what you're wearing, how you're dressing, how you're expressing yourself. Certainly 19-ish degrees can definitely deal with the fabrics, the materials, and just how you're expressing yourself in a much more romantic way. So I could see a lot of like romanticizing yourself. Now, I also feel like this can cause a little bit of strife here because I am watching the square that's happening with Saturn in your 11th house. Uranus rules your 11th house. You are probably not always going to get along with everybody. When you are changing and developing who you are as a person, other people may not respond so well to that. They might go like, what is going on? Who are you? Who is this person? I don't recognize you anymore. So you can get some pushback coming from some of your social circle because that is your 11th house. What I like about this is that I feel like, you already know how the Uranus game goes. You've been watching Uranus go through Aries and then finally through Taurus. And it came into conjunction in recent years with your Venus and also with your Jupiter. So you realize that the most important relationship you're going to have is with yourself, and anybody who cannot respect that cannot hang around. Now, in the midst of this, outside of this conjunction, you're also getting ready to have your reverse nodal return. So where you're usually putting the emphasis on relationships, that is not being highlighted right now. So there is either a sense of whoever you have is like, okay, great, they're there, but that's not my focus. The focus is on me. Or if you are kind of, single, it's like, okay, I think I'm good doing my own thing. I like my freedom, right? Uranus on your sun. Now, the sun is the ruler of your 5th house. So I think that what you're going to see is like a very strong, dramatic, creative, theatrical type of energy that's coming up for you. You might start playing dress up. Maybe you're kind of wearing these outfits that are going to be more like characters almost. You'll feel really romantic and passionate, and there can be a sense of you wanting to get very involved in anything in regards to art as a hobby. So whether it's like wanting to start your own business, or you're deciding that you want to dance, be on stage, whatever, it's using your body. So it's going to be something about the beauty of your body and how that is the instrument for self-expression. Mars can be dance. Mars can also be percussion. So I'm wondering, are you going to start getting into like wanting to take a dance class? Are you going to want to learn how to play the drums? Something is going to be coming through you, because I think the Mars Uranus can be a lot about vibration. So that's one thing that I would kind of keep in mind. And when Uranus conjuncts your sun, it's kind of hard because it's very conscious. Like people physically see you go through that transformation. If it's transiting your ascendant, that as well. But your moon is a little bit more private. So I get the impression looking at this that it's about you kind of being like, I am who I am. Who cares? Like I am the main character in my life, and like really letting that shine, even if people think it's a little weird and a little wacky. I'm liking the fact also that it is going to start making sextiles to Mars. So it makes me feel like this can be shaking things up in terms of where you're living or where you consider home to be. It can also mean that you're radically changing relationship that you have with family, learning to kind of go your own way and be a little bit indifferent when some family stuff kind of kicks up, because it's going to sextile and support your Mars-Saturn conjunction where there's been some kind of family challenges or emotional hangups, where you're going to be like, whatever, I'm not going to let that get me down. I'm on my merry way, and you're not going to be participating in the drama. So it looks like it's really exciting. You're going to have to let me know. I'm wondering what this wild transformation is going to be for you, and I'm wondering if it's going to materialize as you falling in love with something or someone, even if it is yourself. Okay? Let me know, Vera, let me know how that goes. Let's move on to Donald. Donald, are you with me? Thank you guys for those of you guys who are just hanging out. Let me grab some water here. Donald, I've got you here. February 11th, 1979, 4:37 p.m. That is going to give you a Leo rising, a sun in Aquarius, and a moon in Leo. Wow, wow, wow. Holy cow. Look at the squares that are taking place. So the hot zones are definitely going to be anywhere from like, let's say 17 to about 20 degrees of the fixed signs. So if you have a sun, a moon, a rising, or another planet there, it's in the hot zone. Okay. So he's got sun in Aquarius, moon in Leo. He's born on a full moon. It shows the big energy between you versus other people and the dynamic stuff that can go on, the big kabooms with that square to Uranus in the 4th. Well, if we break this down, you've got Uranus and Mars in the North Node square your moon. So what is it saying to me? There is a need to come forward with some of the psychic or private subconscious things that you're thinking or that you're feeling, right? And it's important for you to really acknowledge some of those moods. On the flip side, you've got the North Node Uranus-Mars conjunction that's squaring your Mars, and it's also squaring your moon. Let's break it down. Probably the most important area to focus when it comes to this chart, I believe, is going to be what relationships are working for you. Who do you want to keep in your life? Who do you want to partner with? Ask yourself that first, because you got Saturn going through your 7th on your sun. That is your chart ruler. If certain relationships are not cutting it, if you have to let people go, if you have to end friendships, if you have to end marriages, business relationships, whatever, obviously that's going to radically kind of ping that Mars North Node Uranus in the 10th, and you could be telling the world, I'm going from single to being in a relationship. I'm going from being in a relationship to, being single. I used to be best friends with this person. I no longer identify that anymore. If you're somebody who works with a partner, or if you work with a friend, and if that's not working, then you're emerging kind of more independent and I think a lot stronger on your own. I look at this chart and I kind of feel for you, because you can have the experience or the feeling this year that's like everybody's against you. It's like you against the world. And that's the case for a lot of Leo risings. But I mean, oh my goodness, I really want to hear what's happening with you, because it does tell me there is this radical kind of repolarization going on in your chart, and where there's been a lot of action with other people and a lot of action with your home. Now it's all about you, your career, you being in charge, you kind of becoming the boss, and allowing yourself to be more emotional and being okay being emotional. Now, this is going to highlight the fact that there is separation in your life, right? If you have the sun and moon in opposition and your first and your seventh house axis, you're no stranger to kind of coming together and going apart. With that Uranus also factored into your fourth house, where there's been a lot of instability happening in your home life, now it's kind of like, well, you're the one who's making the choices now. And if you're deciding that you want more stability, you're giving it to yourself. This is your Saturn conjunct your sun transit. That's a pretty big one. If the sun rules your chart, so there's lots of karma going on in relationships. This is your Uranus opposition. So where there's been wildness in your personal life, in your home, now the wildness is in your career. I could foresee this as you being like, I'm going to up and to do something totally different and radically change how I identify out in the world. So it could be a new job. It could be, like I said, a new relationship. But we're taking into consideration your 7th and your 10th house lord. So whatever it is that you're doing, it's very public. So keep in mind, it's not something that would be private. People would see you go through this transformation. They would see that you're actually making some changes in terms of who you're partnering with out in the world. Even though this is a very challenging conjunction for everybody, especially for you, in the back of my mind, I'm going, what is the purpose, right? Like, what is the purpose for this? I think the bigger purpose is going to be for when Jupiter fully comes into your 10th house, and we start to see that, it is fully showing you where you are going to be moving into a new belief system and a new philosophy. I think it's going to be about new career stuff and being okay on your own. And once we start getting like Jupiter and then eventually like Saturn getting up there in the next couple of years, and it's sextiling your sun, you're going to see like, oh, there was a lesson from that relationship, or there was a lesson from moving out of that. And it was to be able to kind of free me or make way for the next partnership that I'm supposed to be having. But across the board, you're kind of getting dinged. And it's really going to, because Uranus is going to go back to about, I think, 14, 15 degrees as it retrogrades, and then it's going to come back to that 18, 19 degrees next year. You're in the change. So even if you go through the Saturn stuff, I think first item of business is really take stock of like who is and is not in your corner relationship-wise or friendship-wise. Clear that out first. You're better prepared for when Jupiter and Uranus come into your 10th. So it's making it possible for you to find more stability and security, likely through what you're doing out in the world in your career, and not feeling like you're a victim of having to rely or feeling like your life is being based off of what's going on with other people. Sending you lots of good vibes. That's a difficult transit. Anybody who's got those placements, that's where my north and my south node and my sun is. So I'm going through the same square, and it's pretty horrific, you guys. It's not easy for me. I'm going kicking and screaming the whole way. So let me know how that's going out for you, Donald. I'd love to hear from you. Let's go to Tracy. Tracy, if you are here, I've got you here October 11th, 1973. Looks like you said it was around 9 p.m. in Melbourne, but we're not exactly sure. But we're going to go off of this time. And whenever somebody says, I think it's this time, usually it's not. So if you're ever interested in a chart rectification, let me know. We can do that. But if it does happen to be at 9 p.m., my eyes went, that's the ascendant. So I'm wondering, how close is it? Well, if this is the time, the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction is taking place on your ascendant, which is really significant because that is the front door to your natal chart. So this is going to be how you present yourself to the world, okay? So it can be how you look, how you're dressing, how you're acting, the list goes on. What's interesting to me is that this is all also creating an inconjunct or a quincunx to your sun in Libra, which looks like it's around the the fifth house. So there's this kind of back and forth between who I present myself to be and who I know I am at the core. This is your true authentic self. Taurus deals more so with your natural talents. It's organic. It's what's just naturally beautiful. I mean, I think that not that one sign is prettier than the other, but the difference that I see between Taurus and Libra is that Taurus can just naturally kind of embody that organic beauty. It doesn't need all the bells and the whistles and the fake nails and the hair or whatever. Like, they're just naturally very pretty. Libra sees the benefit of the artistic flair of adding the makeup and all of the extras and enhancing what is already there. They're both ruled by by Venus. So I can see this whole back and forth between who I really am, who I want to be, how I want to look, how I want to present myself versus what I have always done, how I have always identified, how I have always acted, how I have always dressed, what my talents are, and maybe you're learning to lean into something that's more natural versus feeling like you need to put on a show. And that can be anything from how you're dressing and acting to also just how you're wanting to kind of move around and be in the world. I could see fifth house Libra is wanting to have lovers and relationships and wanting to have playtime and hobbies and all that stuff, but the Taurus rising is ruled by Venus, which is saying, I want something more. I don't want something superficial. So there can be a sense of wanting to go beyond just having the playmate or the fun time, wanting to go deeper into relationships because your chart lord is in the 7th. And as this conjunction is taking place, it is creating something that we call a yod between Venus in Sagittarius in your 7th and Pluto in your 5th. The yod is all coming and it's kind of focusing, on your ascendant. It's a wide range, but it's there. And I feel like what that's doing is it's saying that if you want to break out of having something that's more superficial or something that feels just kind of like playtime to something that's deeper and real companionship and partnership, it's about becoming more authentically connected to who you are at the core. And maybe that means dressing down. Maybe that means just letting yourself be a little bit more natural. Now, on the flip side, this happening on your ascendant is electrifying. So this could be you having issues with things relating to the body. I would really recommend grounding your energy out, doing yoga, being in nature, trying to eat well, eating organic, nothing that's going to be synthetic, and really taking good care of your nervous system. Stimulants are not going to be fun when Uranus is on your ascendant. I don't know if you guys have gone through that transit, but you just feel like you're high on life all the time. You're like a live wire. So adding nicotine or caffeine or anything that's going to be a stimulant is not ideal, and it's going to go back and forth over your ascendant for some time. Now, Mars is the ruler of your 12th house. It's also the ruler of your 7th house. So I feel like you're very likely to be a little touchy. You could be a little confrontational. You're tuning into things subconsciously. I have seen some people who are going through this transit where they're kind of getting suspicious of others because Mars rules the 12th and the 7th. And you can be kind of reactionary, or you can be jealous, or you can be possessive. You want to watch for that with other people. And you can be kind of suspicious. Now, for some of you guys, it's that your intuition is kind of kicking in and you're like, something's telling me that this person's up to no good. For other people, it can be somebody's telling me, to just stay away from this person. And then you can have interference. So just be mindful of that. If you are having it on your ascendant, you're likely to be, confrontational. For Scorpio risings, it's happening in your descendant, but it's actually involving your chart lord. So you're going to see actually you're provoking other people. So any which way you slice it, having it on the ascendant is going to be electrifying. And I would really pay attention to the body, especially the health relating to the body, being that it's at 18 degrees. Keep an eye on the thyroid. Keep an eye on anything that's relating to the throat, to the tonsils, or anything like that. These things are real. It's quite literal, guys. I've had Mars and Uranus in opposition to my natal Pluto, Sun, Mercury. I've had my voice going in and out for the last month. I have days where I can't talk. So it's absolutely fucking wild. So it is literal when it's at the 18 degrees. It does play out that way. Hopefully that's helpful, Tracy. I'm excited to see what you do. Maybe you'll get your nose pierced, or maybe you'll get a tattoo, or you'll do something wild. But I think it's really about stepping into your authenticity so that way you can go deeper into relationships. And I'm excited to see how that plays out for you. Let's look at Susan. And I know Susan had a particular question, so let me pull that up for you, Susan. Let's see if you're here. If you are, hello. It's nice to get to read for you. She's one of my buddies online. She knows about the conjunction. She wants me to look at the 16th through the 20th of August, and that's because she's probably looking at the squares. So when the sun comes in opposition to Saturn, and then it's going to start coming into a square with Mars in the 7th, so it's still part of that conjunction, and it's in opposition to Venus. A little nervous because you're riding your horse. Let me know what you see. Okay, so horses is going to deal more with either your 9th house lord, or it could be Jupiter, depending on how you look at it. Now, just looking at that day, you got the moon in Aries. Well, we're starting at the 15th, so it looks like the 16th through the 20th. So you've got the moon in Taurus. The day that I would watch for, I think, is going to be more so the 18th. Here's why. Mars is the ruler of your 6th house. You've got Mars at 29 degrees. You've got Mars, Uranus, and the moon all within a 10-degree orb in opposition to Venus. So you're taking into consideration other people and the square to your sun. Are you going to be riding every day? That's my question. I'd be more concerned when like Mars is in a square to Saturn. Honestly. Like, to me, that seems more concerning. I look at this and I go, we don't know what's going to happen with Uranus. You know that. Uranus in the North Node is hard to predict. But this, to me, is looking like you have plans to go and do something, to go and maybe even compete, because that can be the 7th house. But it's squaring Saturn. So there's going to be things that could potentially, knock on wood, come up relating to your home, your family, your property, somebody that you need to take care of, because it's all going to oppose Venus, other people, and then it's going to square Saturn. So I would say from about the 7th, not even that, I would say from August 5th through the 12th, and I know you're not leaving until the 16th, those dates, you need to pay attention. And I'm not saying this to be ominous, but I have a feeling something's going to come up that you're going to be like, how am I going to do both of these things? How am I going to deal with what's going on here and deal with that? Because it's the fixed square, right? But if you're looking specifically at the 16th through the 20th, I'm the most concerned, like I said, about the 18th. Okay? Obviously, depending on the time, anytime from the evening on, you're going to have the moon, which is exalted in Taurus. It's going to be, you know, kind of sandwiched between Uranus and Mars, and the moon is the ruler of the 9th. So it actually means there could be an issue where somebody else startles your horse, or somebody upsets your horse, or there's something that goes on in relation to somebody else affecting your horse. That's what I would be watching for, because it's also going to square the sun. So somebody could rile something up, somebody could do something that could get your, you know, horse upset. Somebody could do something that could create a problem for your horse. I'm not really looking at injuries. I mean, listen, Mars is at 29 degrees. So we don't know what's going to happen when it hits that anaretic degree. And another thing to consider is that once Mars hits that 26 degrees, it's going to reactivate the eclipse point that we had last year in November and this year that we had in May, because we had one that was 26, 27 of Taurus. We're going to have another one that's 26, 27 of Scorpio. So keep that in the back of your mind, guys. Once we have that reactivation, we're going to see more things coming up from whatever was going on during those periods. So I want you to reflect back on what was happening in mid-November 2021, what was happening in the end of April, beginning of May 2022. Were you training the horse? Were you getting the horse ready? Did you have some kind of conflict with somebody and somebody around your home and your property? Make sure nobody's able to get in, nobody's able to mess with your horses, nobody's able to mess with your home, because there can be something going on where you're like, okay, I need somebody to jump in and watch the house or take care of an animal. Something's going on with a parent and you're like, what do I do because I've got something else happening? I hate to say that, but it's like you're getting dinged from all different angles. A lot of Scorpio risings, pay attention, because there's going to be some kind of crisis that can be happening with other people that's either affecting somebody in your family or a relationship, or something kind of crazy or some kind of relationship, something from the past is taking place on your property. I would say take like a charm or something with you. Like go and look up like maybe like a patron saint of like horses, or something that you can take with you in the process of like going and being on that horse. Be very careful when Mars is around that 29 degrees. I think it was on the 18th. And when the moon is kind of enclosed between Uranus and Mars, to me, that's screaming accidents. So I want you to be very, very careful, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Samantha C. And let's pull up her info. Samantha, I've got you here October 24th, 77, 6:20 a.m. And let's see if she asked anything in particular. I don't think so. Cool. So this is going to be for that Mars North Node Uranus conjunction, Scorpio rising. And you have a Scorpio rising 18 degrees, which means you have a 18 degrees Taurus descendant. Complete polar opposite of what I just said. Very different in the sense that, guys, the angles are very, very sensitive, okay? So where the ascendant is where you and your body come in, the spirit comes into the body. Some would say it's the 4th house too, but where you're solid, the 7th house is other people. So the 7th house can be marriage, business partnerships, relationships, but it can be enemies. It can be dealing with people who will fist fight you in a parking lot. So having this conjunction on your descendant really is going to be about you dealing with relationships in general. I guess I'm kind of curious, are you single? Now, Uranus for you technically rules your 5th house, Placidus, which deals with lovers, romance, falling in love, true love, children. It can be about your first child. So if you have a kid, I'd be interested in hearing that. But just with the 5th house Lord meeting with Uranus, you know, going into the 7th, it's about a union because you are Mars. So it can be about you coming into union with another person, very suddenly, very unusually meeting someone else. So if you have a kid, it can be about your first kid. It can be about dealing with issues that you need to hash out with your first kid. For all Scorpio risings, you know, this Mars North Node Uranus going into your whole sign 7th, it's digging up the past, right? So it's digging up the past. Uranus is the 4th house. So you're either going to have a situation where your partners are wanting to talk about the past, their family issues, they're wanting to discuss issues in the relationship that's kind of gone on in the past. You want to reflect on what's happened over the last 6 months or so. We had, you know, eclipses there that happened in April, May. I know a lot of Scorpio risings who were in relationships that had quarrels and had fights. I know a lot of Scorpio risings who were kind of seeing somebody that kind of axed somebody. So if you're single, it's making me feel like somebody's going to be coming in. And it can be very quick when it becomes reactivated. I would say that this is meeting people in strange and unusual ways. Like Aquarius 5th house means you could meet somebody online, you can meet them on an app, you can meet them even at a bar, you could meet them at a local club. It could be something of that nature, especially because you have Uranus so tightly kind of configured with your ascendant that if you were to join a group or something where there's people who are interested in astrology or metaphysics or something else, you might meet them. That might be how they come in. But I'm getting the impression that it is going to be about a relationship. Because in the next year and a half or so, you're also going to see Jupiter that's going to go into your 7th house. It's going to be bringing somebody in that you can either work with, collaborate with, create with, make money with. Lots of Scorpio risings are being drawn naturally to partners, if they are single, who are self-sustainable. So partners who are more Taurus. They make money, or they own land, or they're wealthy, or they have their own business, or maybe they work from home, or they're in real estate. These are things that you want to look for. It's not going to be doing too much because you're finally out of the oppositions with all of your Libra and your Scorpio, so you're done with your Uranus opposition. You're going to feel a little bit of it as it retrogrades back, but this is actually going to be about a relationship for you. And I think what's interesting is that you're going to see Saturn is going to continue to sit in your 4th house, opposing your natal Saturn. So it's going to be about, am I meeting people who are younger? Am I meeting people who may already have a kid? How do I feel about dating somebody with a kid? Could I do that? You know, am I open to love and romance again? Scorpio risings, I'm going to keep telling all of you guys, with Saturn in the 4th and Uranus in the 7th, it's either about reevaluating your past, what you need to heal in regards to past relationships, closing the door, healing and moving on from pain. It can also be that you're dealing with your inner world and learning how to be more okay on your own and having more firm boundaries and not letting people in and out of your house or in and out of your life. For some Scorpio risings, it manifests as people from the past coming back. So if it's somebody who you're meant to be with, okay, fine. But in my opinion, kind of looking at these transits, I have a feeling that it's more likely to be somebody that you're meeting that lives in a different place. Just kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Now, Scorpio risings, you guys are going to have Mars going retrograde, okay, later this year. It's going to be in Gemini. The Mars retrograde for you, Sam, it's going to dip back into your 7th house Placidus. So you'll hear for Scorpio, it's going to be in the 8th house. It'll start in the 8th house, it'll go to the 7th. So I have a feeling that there's a need to like rethink the way that you look at relationships. And if you're open to relationships and getting back into the dating game, it's going to trine planets in Libra in your 12th. It's also going to trine planets like Saturn in your 4th. So I think it's about healing and opening the door to new people. Likely you're going to meet someone. So you want to see something positive between Venus. So I'm looking at Mercury going retrograde over your Venus. That's going to be happening during that Mercury retrograde from Libra into Virgo. Perhaps maybe you're going to have like somebody who has a crush on you, or somebody who's coming back that you didn't see coming, or somebody who reaches out to you like out of the blue. So look for that happening right around the end of September, October period. And that might trigger some of that because Venus is your 7th house lord. Okay? Very exciting. Let me know what happens. I've got Carrie, Bridget, Royston, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Emiko, Paula, Mara, in that order. So let's Carrie. Let's take a look at Carrie. Where is Carrie? There we go. Carrie. Make sure I'm not missing anybody here, because I know there was somebody who had questions about a composite. So that's going to be, let's see, Melanie, put you in here too. Okay, so Carrie, here we go. So I've got Carrie Ann, 8/21/68, 5:36 p.m., and that was in Mass. For you, Carrie, you are Capricorn rising. You got your sun in Leo and your moon in Leo. Oh my goodness. Saturn opposed your sun. Square this Mars North Node Uranus conjunction in the 4th. Saturn's your chart lord. Saturn's hanging out in opposition to your sun. And Leo's intercepted. So that looks challenging. Like you're trying to understand why people are being so difficult. I don't know if it's relationships. I don't know if it's kids. But just with your chart lord standing in opposition to all those personal planets in Leo, which are intercepted in the 7th, means you're like, what is going on? You know, why are they not willing to, you know, merge or go deeper in relationship or talk to me? Like, what's happening there? Like, you can see some pushback from other people. But the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction is happening in your 4th house, and it has been already. You know, Uranus has been squaring Saturn in your 1st and also squaring planets in your 7th. So I'm wondering, has this materialized as issues in the home front? Having issues with either kids or having issues with other family members, which is create some issues in regards to your domestic zone, because that's the feeling that I'm getting. Carrie Ann, if you're somebody who is like wanting to make a dramatic change in your home life, now is the time. I just want to tell everybody, okay? If you look forward to the astrology, I'll show you. If we look forward to the astrology in this next year, beyond this, we're going to see that Saturn is going to keep squaring Uranus all at the end of this year. But then the North and the South node are going to move to actually square Pluto in Aquarius. So we're going to see like change is going to be inevitable. We're going to have to change these things whether we like it or not. Like, that is going to be happening. That is the name of the game, basically May through October of 2023. So some of us are delaying the inevitable, okay? And the Mars North Node Uranus, it feels like timelines are speeding up very quickly. It's like, no, I'm not ready for that. And the universe is like, I don't give a shit, you're on my timeline. So a lot of people are like, no, I'm not ready to quit my job. I'm not ready to relocate. I don't know if I can, do this or do that. And we're getting freaked out. And the universe is gonna get our attention physically through some kind of chaotic thing that like feels like the Tower card. So even though it's happening, we're going to realize that it was inevitably going to happen anyway, that it's almost smarter to rip off the Band-Aid now and just kind of face the music, because it's going to be something we're going to have to deal with next year. And then we're going to realize in the spring of 2024, when Jupiter goes there, that we're going to be like, this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Thank God I just got with the program and I didn't drag my feet. For many people who are doing that, and I say this lovingly, you're going to get screwed, okay? And this could be financially, this could be in terms of resources, this could be in terms of having enough food, having shelter, living in a healthy place. Like, when we see these conjunctions happening, the third dimension changes. We don't continue to just have the same paychecks, have the same food, have the same weather. Everything is going to change. So it's really important to look at where Taurus is in your life and realize, like, all right, I'm going to be going back to basics in this particular area of my life. So you want to look at where it's happening. And you're going to face some resistance, especially if it's going to be on an angle or if you're having an opposition, right? So I look at this and I go, Carrie Ann, oh, your home's going to change one way or another. So if you're trying to get everybody to like be happy and kumbaya and live together, it may not happen. You may have people who want to live in different cities. You may have kids that want to relocate. You might have partners that are just being a pain in the ass, and home is going to change. You're upgrading the way that you look at your home and your stability. I say children or lovers because for a Capricorn, Taurus is the whole sign fifth. So if you're trying to still keep everybody together and people are busting out and they need space, you know what I'm saying? Something there makes me feel like it may not necessarily stick. So I'm curious how that's happening. You're going to actually see it when Saturn comes back, when it goes direct and then it makes the opposition to your sun. That may be the tipping point that you actually kind of realize, like in Scorpio season or even in February of next year, it's very likely that you're going to realize like, oh, I was trying to push it and it's like still not working. So my advice for you would be, how are you creating a home within yourself? What are you doing there? Does it make sense to be flexible and kind of say, hey, if we're having issues, you can come and go, let's try to work it out? Does it make sense for you to spend time in two different places? Are you reworking the way that you look at home and family? And are you like having like family meals where you're inviting friends and you're creating that family kind of like domestic vibe without it having to be your blood relatives, right? Because we're going to see lots of like communal meals and people who are helping raise, you know, like other people's kids or friends of the family. Like we're going to see like a lot more communal living situations that are going to be going on for a chart like this. For Capricorn risings, Aquarius risings, you guys are going to be living in some situations that are very different, that are more future oriented, where we have community gardens and things like that. So I can see that you really want partnership. I can see that you really want family. You really want love. And what I'm seeing here is that this is all coming together, but it's also coming together in a way where you're creating that on your own in a very unusual way. And also making space for you to be able to have like a craft room or having somewhere where you can like do more of like your creative stuff. So that way, when you're consciously taking space from people and not totally consumed with relationships with all those planets that you have in the 7th house, that you still feel like you're happy and that you're loved. You got a ton of planets hanging out natally in your 8th house of Virgo. And I think that with all of these trines from your 5th to the 8th, that you're realizing there's a different way to express this relationship or this like sexual or creative energy. So there's going to be something that's going on there where it's like, okay, maybe it's not my kids. Maybe it's like me working with youth, right? Or maybe it's me getting more into finding out my personal pleasure versus like always being fixated on other people and who and what I have, because this is a stellium through your 7th and your 8th house. Like relationships have a very strong effect on you is what I can see. But part of your lessons with Saturn in your 3rd, technically your whole sign 4th, is learning to be okay on your own and developing your own home within yourself. So there's the family you're born into, the family you make. Try to roll with the punches. There's going to be changes in your home. You might have like lots of disturbances that's going on around where you're living. So you can hear that there's like people, you know, renovating and like all kinds of stuff. And you're like, I just want to be in nature. Like, I don't want to be in this like urban environment. And you might start getting really hooked on gardening as like a hobby, or cooking or pottery or something like that. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Sending you lots of good vibes through those transits. All right. So let's look at Bridget. Bridget V. Okay, so I've got you here April 30th, 1971, and you've got a Leo rising, your sun is in Taurus, and your moon is in Cancer. Let's just make sure I'm not missing anything in terms of questions. So you've got this conjunction happening, what appears to be like your Sun-Saturn midpoint. So Sun is your chart ruler. Saturn is going to deal with, you know, kind of seriousness and commitment. It looks like it can be about responsibility, scheduling, anything in regards to like navigating and like leading a group of people, or maybe like working in a workspace. And you're like those other Leo risings who's experiencing the fixed cross. Now this is actually squaring your nodes. Holy cow. So this is like your midway point to your nodal return. Wowzers. So are you feeling like you have to like fight your way to the top? Like what's going on right now? Are you feeling like the need to like teach or preach or like share something with people? Like do you feel like this like inner pastor coming out or something? Mars is the ruler of your 9th, of your belief in your philosophy, higher education, and also your 4th. So I could see this being about you feeling like you're evolving and superseding out of like past family bullshit, trying to follow some kind of spiritual path because you feel a little disconnected, possibly from family or relationships. God bless you. This is a really difficult transit to have. So when Uranus, which is the ruler of your 7th, which is wild and unpredictable, right, is in your 10th house with Mars, it's saying like you're learning that there are lessons coming from taking space from certain people. And you're also like teaching other people, I think, that it's okay to not agree, but that there needs to be a level of respect if you don't share the same perspective. So that might be something that you're kind of like a stickler for right now, about being like, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but like, let's, you know, keep it peaceful, and like, let's like learn how to have like a healthy debate. Like that might be something that you're really focused on right now. There's a lot of like your belief system coming out in the midst of this. And to be honest with you, when you're in the node square, I just finished this, by the way, it sucks. Because you feel like you're in no man's land. You're like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm not where I used to be. I don't know where I'm going. There is a sense of things not coming together in the time that you want them to. And part of this is because you're meant to be learning how to work with the North Node in this part of your chart. North Node in Taurus is, how am I finding stability and security out in the world? How am I building that for myself and showing my talent, right? And so I think the talent that's coming through is like how you're educating people. Hi, Jupiter stationing on your Venus. So are you an educator? Are you thinking about getting certified? Are you thinking about going and like helping people out in the world for a living? Do you have something that you can share with people that can really help them so that way they can really grow? Even if you're feeling the fallout coming from family, and if you're feeling the fallout coming from relationships, Saturn on your North Node is teaching you that there are certain relationships worth working for. And it's about being of service to others. So if you don't want to get trapped in the trauma drama game that you've got going on, possibly with some relationships, you're going to choose to be of service to other people. And it becomes holding space for friends and holding space for your community, and being able to help them so you don't feel like you're just like the teacher in relationships, quite frankly. This is a big conjunction because I think not only is it happening in your 10th house, so for all Leo risings, this is like go big or go home. Like some of you guys who have been in the wrong career for some time are going to have some wild shit happen where something's going to blow up, or bosses are going to have layoffs, or we're going to find out that companies are kind of like underwater, you know, financially. And like there are going to be some things that are going to be scary, but it's going to set some of you guys on the path of, okay, I'm going to go teach for a living, right? Or I'm going to go and I'm going to decide that I'm going to get a new certification, or I'm going to be a coach, or there are things like that that are going to happen because it's involving your ninth house lord, right? So you then become the guru suddenly, or you suddenly go and you finally start your own business and it's like this genius thing, and maybe you publish a book, something like that could happen. Go look into the Sun-Saturn midpoint. It's basically going to take into consideration both of these things. The sun is going to be our personal identity. Saturn is going to be relating to commitment, and also in your case, service and public image. And I think with both Mars and Uranus being there, you can actually go online and look up what it means for these two to conjunct that midpoint. Very prominent. You're starting a new career, basically, you know? I think it's going to be very entrepreneurial, personally. I also have a feeling that you may toy with the idea of either teaching or publishing, because both of those placements are ruled by Venus. You've got Venus in your ninth, Jupiter stationing on your Venus. It's time for you to go and tell your story, or it's time for you to put something out there that's going to help other people. Okay, so be brave. Be brave, Bridget. Let's pull up Melanie. Okay, so Melanie, are you still here? Did you decide you want me to look at just your chart, or do you want me to pull up both? Let me know. And then we've got Heather. Heather. So it'll be Melanie, Heather, Emiko, Paula, Mara, Margaret, Susan. Thank you guys for your patience. All right, let's do it. So she's asking questions about how these transits are going to affect her and another. So this is the composite of you and Stephen. I believe it's Stephen. I know you guys are living apart. You mentioned that. Composite-wise, Capricorn rising, Cap sun, and you guys have your moon in Taurus. Well, you don't need me to tell you this. Part of what's going on is like somebody's going to have to get their ass in gear. Somebody's going to have to move. Somebody's gonna have to move. It's in your fourth house. And it's trining your ascendant, right? So this conjunction that's happening is very, very close to your guys' north node in Taurus, on the cusp of your fifth. The ruler is Venus. Saturn is on Venus. Somebody's asking the difference between composite and synastry. Hey Nancy, we're only going to be looking at the North Node Uranus conjunction, but if you want, I can add you to my list. Let me know. Synastry is how you lay the two charts over each other, and we can look at the charts and we can look at the aspects between the planets, the trines, the conjunctions, the sextiles, and we can see how you guys interact. It's like putting you in a room and like observing you, right? Synastry is different than composite, and I do midpoint and Davidson. If I do like a full-blown relationship rating, if you come to me to ask me questions about you and a partner and if it's going to work and you know what it's like and what the relationship looks like in terms of timing, I will always look at the midpoint, and I also look at the Davidson. Midpoint's going to take the midpoint between all of your planetary placements. It's going to create a chart that does not exist. It'll create aspects like Venus opposed the sun and other things that cannot happen. The Davidson is going to take the midpoint in terms of the daytime, and it creates a chart. And both of them are accurate, but it's for this purpose we're going to use the midpoint. So you're thinking of moving to the USA from Australia. Well, it's kind of like it's the lesser of two evils from somebody who lives in America. But I don't know. I haven't been to Australia. But somebody's going to have to move, you know. The Mars North Node Uranus, I guess what works in your favor in this composite chart is that it trines your ascendant, and it also trines your guys' Jupiter Mercury. So it's like, what are we doing? You know, Mercury rules the ninth house, which is going to be about immigration, travel. It's about ceremonies. It's conjunct Jupiter, which is about a foreign land. So obviously it's very clear to me that's like, how do we do this? If we do this, are we in it because we really love each other because it's conjunct the 5th house? And how would that play out? So the issue is that it's squaring your Venus. And it's about the 10th house, which is, well, who's going to have a job, and like, how are they going to work, and how are they going to be supported, and is it going to be something that's going to work in terms of, you know, all the paperwork and everything relating to the government process of getting married and being able to move. As Saturn goes back and forth over your Venus, I'm actually pretty confident that that is going to show you guys whether or not you have the wherewithal to make it happen. It may cost you something. So it might cost somebody having to, you know, quit their job, or it might cost money actually having to put this into, you know, proving that you have enough to be able to move to get in there. I don't know what the requirements are, but like, it's going to cost, trust me, with Saturn on Venus in the 2nd. Saturn's going to go back and forth between Venus and also the North Node. So it's also going to be, well, where is it going to be a more cost-effective place to live? Is it going to be more expensive there, or is it going to be more expensive here? And who's making more money? Venus in the 2nd. Who can sustain, you know, the other person. I think in the end, and I'm not just saying this to be like optimistic, it's going to work out. Because you're going to have Jupiter come into your guys' 4th house. And it's going to conjunct Venus and Uranus, and that's going to be right around next spring. And it looks like that happens. And it looks like it happens because you're in love, but it also looks like there needs to be an understanding, because the North Node is going to hit your guys' composite moon, that you're doing it because you really do want to be together. I'm not just saying, like, you would have to get married because Juno and the North Node are going to align. At least you're going to have Saturn in the 2nd house. So then it's going to start sextiling the 4th. So you're making more money together. You're looking at maybe investing in property down the road. And this will be over the next couple of years. You're going to have Uranus in opposition to your Saturn. So there's still going to be more changes in regards to what's going on with work with one or both of you. And with Venus square the nodes, I feel like love can like conquer all in this chart, especially because it's the ruler of the 5th house. But it would also be like, are you guys on the same page about what you want? Because Venus does rule not just true love, but children. So it would also be this understanding that's like, well, where do we stand on kids? Are we getting married because we want to do this? Like, you know, what are we building and creating together? But I actually feel like with the North Node and Jupiter going through your 4th house, very likely you guys will be together in the spring next year. And when Venus leaves the conjunction, when Saturn leaves the conjunction to your Venus, he should leave a gift. And I think that that's probably going to be a piece of jewelry. It's going to be a ring that's on your finger, because 19 degrees deals with a ring. So it's going to be about an unusual ring, something that is unusual. It can be a verbal commitment, or something that's binding verbally, but there likely is going to be an exchange of a possession. And then there's this drama about, well, you know, do we spend the money on a ring? Do we spend the money on immigration? Do we spend the money on a house? What do we do? And likely it looks like you're going to be getting something that's unusual, because Venus in Aquarius is unusual. So you might get married in an unusual way, where you get the ring, you save money on the wedding, you do the courthouse wedding, but you guys end up moving, something like that. But yeah, I really like this. This is really cool, because you guys had to really overcome a lot to be able to get to each other. But notice that your Jupiter and Mercury square your guys's, your Saturn, your South Node, excuse me, it's sextiles your Saturn. It is in a trine to your North Node. So it's kind of saying you guys had to figure yourselves out before you found each other. And it is about changing the way that you look at where you're willing to live, and also marriage. So I love a good story. Congratulations on that. Let us know. Keep me updated. I have a feeling that's what's going on for you next spring, though, and it's definitely worth making the move. All right, let's look at Heather. And here we go. Heather, I've got this for May 30th, 1975, 3:38 p.m. Libra rising, Sun in Gemini, Moon in Aqua. So you've got the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction taking place in your 8th house. It has been in a slight square to your moon. So tell me, what have you been feeling in terms of what you're thinking you want to change in terms of your career or your responsibility out in the world? It's in your 4th house, so it's kind of like this inner personal, like, this is what I'd rather be doing. How could I be making money from home? Or it can be about the relationship with your child or with your inner child in some capacity, right? For Libra risings, this is an interesting conjunction because really it's telling me about intimacy, going deeper with intimacy. So it can be learning how to work on trusting other people more when it comes to joint resources. Mars rules your 7th, Uranus rules your 5th. This to me says, I want to find a way to make more passive or residual income from home. And how can I do that in a way that's going to be creative or in a way that is going to feel like fun? It can be a little risky as well. This conjunction in your 8th house can spice things up sexually, so there can be a lot more of like wanting to explore things sexually because the 8th house is about intimacy. It's in a square to Saturn, so it's also about self-expression and like really kind of feeling those sexual energies. It can be about changes that you're having in terms of your heart space and like kind of figuring out whether or not you are open to love or relationships, but beyond sex, right? So sex for fun, for pleasure is like, I see more like the 5th house. Saturn is there. Uranus in the North Node and Mars in the 8th house is saying wanting to go deep in all forms of intimacy and touch and pleasure. So it's not just, Scorpio would be like penetration. So it's not just about that. It's about touch and massage and pleasure and anything in regards to all of the senses. So like really wanting to be romanced. And it's interesting because Taurus is slow, so it takes time for this to kind of open up. So you're going to realize that there can be ways to kind of come together with another person in intimacy beyond just having sex. It's about all of the senses. And possibly a lot is going to change in terms of like your preferences there. It's also about personal pleasure and what's bringing you personal pleasure and learning more about that and ways that you can be expressing that. For you, this is also sextiling your Saturn, which is the ruler of your 4th. So I wonder if there's ways to make more residual income coming from working from home or doing something in regards to real estate. That's the other way that I could look at it. It could be dealing with real estate or property. Unfortunately for Libra risings, the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction is about karmic entanglement with other people. 8th house can deal with death, death, sex, taxes, inheritance. I'm looking at the trines that are happening to your IC, and I will tell you that this is setting up a new period for over the next 15 years where there will be transitions and then suddenly you will inherit something, and it will be physical because it is Taurus. So touch wood, if that does happen, you're going to be like, and I inherited a house or land or somebody's stock or like what? It's also about child support, spousal support, insurance. Mars rules your 2nd house of the money that you have. So you're going to be spending more of other people's money so you can see payoffs, lottery winnings. Uranus rules your 5th house, where you have taken chances in making investments and then suddenly it grows and it raises, right? I love the sextile to Saturn. It makes me feel like you would be like, I'm scaling back from my job because this thing has come in. I want to focus more on putting it into property or spending time at home or having a business that I can do at home as a result of that. Let me know. Looks exciting. A little scary. I'm a Libra rising too, so little scary for some of those conjunctions. But so far, I can tell you that I don't have any baby daddies, so there's no child support. But I've just seen a real uptick in like clients. There's just been more clients, so I've just seen more people who want to pay for services so far. But we'll see. I don't want to knock it yet. Keep me updated. People are saying child support. Yeah, child support. Emiko, or spousal support, because Mars is your 7th. But also, it's meeting people who have money, or who want to invest in your ideas. And if people owe you money, it's like, fuck you, pay me energy. So it's pretty good for Libra risings. Go after it, guys. Go after it during the Mars retrograde. It'll trine Saturn, so you file the paperwork. Emiko. What's up, Emiko? Are you here? Emiko is a Pisces rising, Sun in Aries and Moon in Taurus. The Mars North Node Uranus conjunction is taking place in your second house of money, self-esteem, and resources. And this is about spending power, wanting to feel like you possess more and you have more control over your resources. Mars rules your second, Uranus rules your 12th. This is coming into a square with your Venus. Wow, wow, wow. How is that feeling? Do you feel like there is stuff coming up for you where you're learning to like let go of possessions? Are you willing to let go of people by any chance? Venus in the 12th house can be, you know, because of that conjunction that's in the second and it's squaring it, it's like, I'm not going to be, you know, holding on to all these things anymore. Like, here, take my couch, you know, here, you know, take this, take that. I don't need it. It's like, it's about lightening the load physically or emotionally, right? It can be emotionally as well. Sharing and giving insight into your natural talents. So I look at like your Venus being in the 12th house. Saturn is there right now. You're selling everything. Cool. Saturn being in conjunction to your Venus, I feel like is like going through like this period of wanting to be almost like monk-like. And whether that's like abstaining from relationships or focusing on wanting to give to other people and practicing a lot more minimalism. Yeah, the squares to Saturn on your Venus is cutting ties with friends. Yeah. But it's also, I think, a lot about your self-esteem and learning not to base who you are or your self-worth on who likes you, who's friends with you, what kind of a car you have, how many things you have, right? Which is kind of unusual as the North Node goes through the second house. We want to make more. I see this for you as you going, I want to make more meaningful experiences. I don't want to just consume. I want to grow. I don't want to just have. I want to create. Such an awesome thing to be doing. If you're going to Hawaii to be in nature, can you take me with you? I think that you're probably going to be focusing on honing in on your talents and whatever that may be. You know, second house can be painting, growing, gardening, cooking, designing, anything like that. And I feel like, yes, it's hard work, but it's going to be very rewarding. Hi, it's in a trine to your Neptune. It's also slightly in a trine to your Saturn. So you're realizing that you're going to go and live a much more sustainable life for you personally, because that's a part of you realizing that you need that freedom so you don't feel like you're going to be defined by what you're doing for a living and having a normal job, because that doesn't look like something that you want. I'm excited to see how this plays out for you. I'll tell you that it is about becoming more, you know, capable of having financial freedom. So it doesn't have to be limited to, you know, just food and stuff like that. I think anybody who's got the North Node Uranus Mars conjunction in the second, so if you're an Aries rising, if you're a late Pisces rising, learning about cryptocurrencies and learning about exchange and investments and anything in relation to natural materials is a really, really good idea. A really good idea. Especially because you're having these trines to your 10th house. You might find that you're going and developing skills and that you're investing a little money, or you're investing into something that you're developing that can be sustainable long term. And you're going to see more opportunities to kind of trade and exchange. That's something that you're going to see 100%. So it might be you end up moving somewhere and you make jewelry, or you grow food and you meet somebody who's willing to trade you for eggs or bread or whatever. There's going to be exchanges going on there. And you're going to learn a lot spiritually about the relationship with your body and what you're eating in the land, right? It's supportive. I just think that you're going to see in about 2 years' time, as Jupiter and Uranus come into your second house and they're along each other and it's squaring your Venus, you're going to find that you have developed a skill that's very sought after, or you have something that's very lucrative that other people are going to want, that you can trade or exchange. So I think it's a really good thing that you're going and you're making this move. A lot of the Capricorn Stellium people are doing that. Do you need to worry about money? I mean, here's the thing. You're going to feel impulsively like you want to cut ties with whatever you're doing right now. I will tell you that Mars is going to go retrograde in your 4th house, so there can be challenges in terms of, you know, oh, okay, yeah, working on a farm. I mean, that makes sense. Mars being in your 4th house retrograde later this year in a square to your ascendant tells me that you're going to go and feel something out and see if you like it, and you're living between two places, or you're in the process of getting ready to move. So I feel like if you go and you work on a farm and you're learning how to do that, that to me is like something that, you know, money can't buy. Having that experience and learning how to do that, even if it's sacrificing a period of time until you learn what you need to learn, and then you go and then you're able to kind of turn that into a business, or you're able to grow your own stuff. Actually moving, you know, you're going to be talking about doing that while there's a retrograde in Libra. That's going to be taking place somewhere around your 7th house. It's going to be in a trine to Mars. As long as nothing falls through with the people who are offering you the position, it should be fine. But keep in mind that when the eclipses are happening again in the fall, it is activating a move for you. So that's going to be like the October-November period. So perhaps you go there for a period of time, see if you like it. I would say try to keep things light while you have that Mars retrograde in your 4th, because there's going to be a sense of being like, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? There's going to be two options there. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I say do it. It looks like a good idea, because you're going to go and develop a talent that's going to be lucrative down the road. It's going to be something that can sustain and support you. We've got Paula, Mara, Margaret, Susan, and Nancy. So Paula, what's up, Paula? Are you still here? Is it past your bedtime? For you, Paula, my dear, the Mars and North Node Uranus conjunction. I knew when I pulled your chart up, I'm like, that's on her Saturn. It's on your Saturn in your 12th house. Saturn is the ruler for you of your 8th house and your 9th house. We could say 10th as well, but it's really going to be that 8th, 9th. Paula, the conjunction's happening in your 12th, and it's right on top of your Saturn. It is in opposition to your Jupiter. To me, this is about what you are working on and what you are building behind the scenes. You may find that there's some friendship fallout in the midst of this, because I could see how Mars has connections to your 11th house, whole sign, and that there's just some clearing that you do with some people that you have been either emotionally tied to for some time, or just somebody that you're ready to kind of cut ties with. It might be about joining groups and associations and things that have to do with like learning stuff relating to like esoteric, astrology, you name it. I'm looking at this going like, okay, your moon's pretty close to Saturn, and it's in opposition to Jupiter, which is the ruler of your 7th. So to me, it's like giving insight to your partner, giving insight to your employees, spending a lot more time in a back room, spending a lot more time possibly in an office space, like needing your space. Like you will find that if you're not given your private time, you're going to get a little anxious and you're going to get a little antsy. Being in nature is one of the best things you can do. I just did a reading the other day for somebody who had this conjunction in the 12th, and I remember saying to her, do you feel like you're getting kind of touchy? Like, because people are like, you know, getting in your personal space and you're not like getting enough time out and, you know, taking a walk or being away from work or your kids. And she's like, yeah. For this conjunction, it's really asking you to either create that private space, have that private office where you're not going to be bothered. Saturn is in a sign connected to Venus. So it makes me feel like where you can strategize and start working on a business relating to food or sweets. To me, it's also about photography. So you might be like starting to create things and designing things, and you're taking pictures of them and you're getting ready to start promoting that stuff. So you need the space to be able to do that. I wonder if this is also going to be about just how you're responding to things empathically with what's going on in the world. So the 12th house is like the masses, things that are going on in terms of, you know, the world. And the 12th house is isolation. So Mars and Uranus can have you feeling like, I don't want to be, you know, locked down. I don't want to be told I can't go out and do things. Like, you're not going to tell me what to do. So there's going to be a side of you that is going to be a lot more eager to kind of break out and break free. Your intuition might be a lot stronger than usual. I also feel like this can materialize as the completion or wrapping up of certain law-related issues for partners, because it's in an opposition to your 7th house Lord. So if there's been delays in anything in regards to money or settlements or anything in regards to legal or lawsuits, a natural ending is what we see in the 12th house. So it's putting that to rest, so you're no longer feeling like either energetically drained or financially drained because of some of these things. This trine by about 10 degrees, it'll trine your Mercury as well. So that's also telling me that you're finding a much more either spiritual or calm, kind of like psychological way of being able to communicate and connect and talk to your children. But bottom line, I think with this in your 12th, and it's in opposition to your 7th, is that you're finally wrapping up things that you feel like have taken so long to kind of pan out in terms of legal stuff. Keep an eye on your mom. You know, that's pretty close to your moon. You can see situations where, you know, mother figures or whatever are having issues with eating or breathing, because it's the Lord of your 2nd and 3rd, and it's in the 12th, where she might have memory issues. She's forgetting things. We can sometimes see issues with the brain happening with that as well, or anything in regards to like her throat or swallowing. That's something else that I would watch for, especially if something like that comes on suddenly. This is all in a square to Saturn, which is, you know, squaring on top of your North Node. So it's saying in order for you to really be the boss and see everything kind of come together the way that you do in terms of your career, you do need that private time. So you do need to be away from like the chaos and like the hockey stuff and the kids sometimes, and like you need your like little zen zone or your layer or something like that for you to be able to go and just focus on what it is that you're creating, what you're developing. It can be recipes, it can be business strategy, whatever, but you need that space. And try to do, try whenever you can to go and actually be in nature. That's really going to help you. Like just go for a walk, go and be out in the trees, take your shoes off, anything like you can do like that just to ground, because they feel like you're going to be picking up all like the funky psychic spore that's kind of going around, as like a lot of people are getting really anxious with some stuff that's going on with some of these conjunctions. Wild dreams also, the Mars, North Node, Uranus in your 12th house can be lots of dreams from past lives. You can have some violent dreams or some nightmares. So I would say it's just stuff that's being cleared out from your subconscious. It can be relating to past lives. So if that's happening, work with aromatherapy to help you sleep. Get a diffuser or start working with Bach essences or something, so that way you can, you know, you can rest easily. Okay. Sending you good vibes. We've got Mara. Mara, September 9, 1974, 3:12 p.m. That gives you a 29 degree Sag rising, a moon in Gemini, and a sun in Virgo. Holy mutable squares, Batman. So you've got the Mars North Node Uranus conjunction taking place in Taurus. That is going to be happening in your natal 5th house. Mars rules your 4th, Uranus rules your 2nd. This to me looks like you're getting more involved in hobbies. I'm also going to ask, do you have kids? This is in your 5th house. So there can be, if you have kids, them acting kind of wildly and kind of erratically. Although I like the sextile it's making to your Jupiter. That makes me feel like there's room for new love, new hobbies, new creative projects, possibly self-employment, launching something. You may be drawn to doing work with food, doing work with cosmetics, possibly doing something in regards to like floral arrangements, or anything in regards to like growing or like working with gardening, 5th house, like hobbies. So I could see Taurus being there. The issue that I've seen for Sag risings is that they're learning that if they're going to be investing in a new talent, or they're going to be doing something new, they can't break the bank. That's the square to Saturn. Okay. And I would say with Saturn in the 2nd, it's like learning where you are willing to splurge. Okay. So you're a fashion designer, where you are willing to splurge. And if you're a designer and you work independently, it's like, okay, I want to have nice things, but I don't necessarily know if I have the budget for it. I want to try something new, but I don't know if it's going to be successful if I make that segue. Saturn in the 2nd is trying to get you to focus less on the lack of resources. It's trying to get you to focus on more what you can make with very little. So things that are going to be simplistic, not wasting materials, looking at ways to be able to make the most of what you have, and developing new talents. So in your chart, even though I can see that it's difficult, I go, wait a second, there's some method to the madness here, because you've got Saturn that's in a trine to Uranus. So it's trying to get you to look at the way that you work with other people, if you're sick of making money for other people, and if you want to work for yourself, then something is about to change. You also have this Mars North Node Uranus conjunction that is all trining your sun in Virgo in the 8th. So it almost looks like there's going to be some like really great creative ideas and some things that you're going to be designing and developing that's going to be very whimsical, very fun, very playful. It might be sexy, right? It could be like more like costume-esque. It can also be stuff that you're doing for younger people or things that are youth-oriented. Here's a fun idea. Anything, and I know you're in fashion, so you're probably going to scoff at this, but 5th house can be like I said, costumes. It could be lingerie. It could be costumes for animals. It could also be anything relating to like sports attire, right? So things that are associated with particular teams. It's something like that you could do that could be like, okay, I have a design background. This is kind of kitschy, but like, let me launch this and see if it takes off. You could do it. Plain old lace and underwear. Yeah, I mean, I see it as being kind of sexy. And Saturn in the 2nd house, if you feel like you have a smaller budget, you could just be, creating like loincloths and like all kinds of like raunchy things. If that's what you wanted to do, like you could do that. And it would be fun and kind of futuristic with that conjunction to Uranus. It's racy because Mars is there. And the trine to your sun in the 8th house is definitely like sexy. I say make a go at it, like really do it. Like really give yourself the time to do it and start putting it together. You may find by the time Jupiter, your chart ruler, goes into the 5th house in this next year or so, it could be quite lucrative and you could have a lot of fun. The only problem is you'd have to hire other people because Taurus is the whole sign ruler of your 6th to keep up with the demand. Really, that's the only real problem that I see there. It doesn't hurt to try. Don't break the bank on what you're spending for materials though. So try to find ways to either use stuff that is going to be more affordable or you're not wasting things and things that are more sustainable. So you're going to be looking at quality with Taurus over quantity, right? And I have a feeling that if you give this a shot and if you start putting it together this year, very likely you can see that you can be possibly bringing in some money from this by like maybe the Mercury retrograde Libra, like you've got samples and things that you're creating. And I would give it really until we see planets go through your 2nd house. So I would say maybe the first couple months of next year to really see what it could be. But I think that would be a great way to be able to use this energy. Personally, you're working with that trine to your sun, so you could definitely make money. And, the sun in the 8th house is sexy. Virgos know all about that. You guys are just perfectionists, If I was going to buy lingerie, I'd want it from a Virgo. At least I know it's going to fit well. It's made well, Hopefully that's helpful, Mara. You keep me updated on that. We want to hear all about your lingerie line. We're going to go to Margaret. And for you, I have March 12th, 1980, 8:15 a.m., Richmond, Virginia. You've got a Taurus rising. You've got a moon in Capricorn, a sun in Pisces. Wowzers. So this is happening in your natal 1st house. It is in a slight trine to your moon, so I'm not mad at that. It's in a sextile to your sun. The same usual things, lots of erraticness. It's in your 1st house. It's your body. It's how you are acting, how you are behaving. You had an eclipse conjunct your Chiron that recently got reactivated. Have you had any health issues recently? Do you feel like your body is like stressed out? Like, is there some stuff going on with like either your nervous system or thyroid, throat, anything like that? Now, being that the conjunction's in your 1st house, it is going to change something about your appearance. It is about you learning how to navigate life differently because it's conjunct your 12th house Lord. So you're going to be, if you're not conscious, more aggressive. You're going to be kind of snappy. If you're conscious of it and you're realizing that frustration is coming through because you haven't really allowed yourself to be authentic, just fly your freak flag, do your thing. Okay, your GI track. So you got Saturn in your 6th retrograde, so I'm not surprised that there can be some tummy issues. This is trining Saturn, and I've seen a lot of people who have like Saturn in the 6th, or they have like stelliums of planets in Virgo. You guys do better when you're eating like a diet that is like more like raw or vegan or vegetarian or like no dairy or like gluten-free. I don't know. You guys just do better with that from what I've seen. You're no stranger to having some health stuff. You got your sun in the 12th and Saturn in the 6th. So there is this feeling of feeling separate from other people because you need to kind of heal and you need to deal with health stuff. This is about learning to consciously take that time and going like, wow, certain people, certain places, certain things are not good for me energetically. I absorb it. I have tummy issues. I'm not a doctor, but that's just how this works. So what I would say to you is instead of just waiting for you to absorb other people's stuff, the Mars North Node Uranus is kind of starting to kind of pay attention to some of these vibes, becoming aware of friends that drain you. Okay, it's squaring your South Node and it's squaring Saturn in your 11th. So there are certain individuals, certain friends, certain people you really couldn't or shouldn't be around. You're not going to get along with them anyway. You're going through an upgrade. The way that you're looking at life and the world in general is changing, and you're grumpy, but you're grumpy because there's things that you just want to cut loose and you want to be done with, but you haven't really allowed yourself to move into that yet. I just want to remind you, you're also coming into your Uranus opposition in the next couple of years. Kundalini yoga can be really helpful for you. It's going to really kind of align a lot of those energies, and it's going to help you kind of better deal with any static that you're having with other people. Uranus being in your 7th, you've had a lot of erraticness in relationships, and it's also in a square to your Mars. So, whether this is your love life or, relationships or lovers, whatever, there's some stuff that's kind of there that's getting worked out right now. So over the next couple of years is like Uranus and also Mars and Jupiter, when they make alignments that are going to oppose your natal Uranus and your nodes, you're going to see where it's like it's not worth dealing with certain people who are creating strife in your life if you can't be authentic and be yourself. And you might be getting some responses from partners or other people that you're not totally wild about. I love that you have the North Node in Mars at 29 degrees of Leo. So that is Regulus. And I think something that you're going to see here pretty soon is like when the sun goes through Leo, it's going to be all about your talent, your authenticity, your creativity. It's all about you. And what's really good for you in this next month, you're going to realize does not sit well with others, whether it's relationships, friends, whatever, because you're becoming a different person or you're really showing who you really are, and you're going to get some pushback. Okay? And I think it's really healthy for you to have an outlet. So like something creative that you can do so you can really show that, whether it's like dance or painting, creativity, something that you're doing, because that's the 5th house as an outlet for some of this energy, because it's all coming to square your 5th saying, are you happy? Well, if you're not happy and you're doing things you don't enjoy, or you're spending time with people that are kind of bringing you down, then it's going to kind of ricochet and it's going to square your ascendant. You're going to have some stuff going on with your body. So your body is much more sensitive to vibrations. You, like other Taurus risings, you really benefit from grounding out in nature, maybe working with things that might be natural, working with herbs, working with dietary changes, stuff like that. And any energetic healing modalities, so I think of like if you want to go and get Reiki, or if you want to get like energetic alignments or clearings or whatever, you're going to be more drawn to these type of things so that way you can better manage what's going on with the body. If you've been having some health stuff, looks like that's kind of getting worked out a little bit during the retrograde in September. But the health stuff is also coming because you have Neptune retrograding back into conjunction with your sun, which is, are you working on creating these magical, whimsical things behind the scenes creatively? What are you doing spiritually that's going to kind of help you? And as it retrogrades, it's still making oppositions to Saturn in your 6th, okay? So that does bring up digestional issues and stuff relating to the diet. And I would say once Neptune gets out of the opposition with your Saturn, that might calm down a little bit, all right? Look for ways to be able to start taking more authority and being okay being assertive, telling people no, or telling people to back off, or not feeling like you have to partake in things that just vibrationally doesn't feel good. And be doing body scans and checking in with yourself regularly. That's going to help. All those trines to your Cap Moon also, I think, is just going to help you feel a little bit more emotionally secure. And if other people don't like it, it's not really your problem. It's kind of like you're putting your oxygen mask on first. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at this. Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Susan. Let's see. Susan. She snuck in. So we've got Susan and we've also got Nancy. Nancy, can you send me your info again? Because I have all new charts now. So I'm going to put Susan in and then I'll put Nancy in. All right. January 11th, 78. (2:37 a.m.) And that was in Webster Harris County, Texas. Okay. Okay, 2:37 a.m. Perfect. So let's pull up Susan. Thanks, Nancy. Hi, Susie. You're welcome, Margaret. All right, so you guys, Scorpio rising 17 degrees. Sun in Capricorn. Moon in Aquarius. Holy smokes. So you got Mars, North Node, Uranus, pretty much on your descendant. It's in your 7th house. So it is about relationships and partnerships, and it's square to Saturn in your 4th. So here are some ways that this can play out. Are you partnered? That is the question that I have for you. Thankfully, it's going to diffuse through other parts of your chart. So this is going to trine your Sun and your Venus in Capricorn in the 3rd. So when in doubt, communication is king. You've got your 7th house lord in the 3rd and your 10th house lord in the 3rd. This makes me feel like it's going to be about challenges that you can have in relationships. So it can be business partnerships, romantic relationships, but also things relating to either siblings or neighbors, okay? So you've got the Mars, North Node, Uranus. Other people are going to be combative, being that it's in your 7th house. They're going to bring something to you from the past. So the past is because Uranus rules your 4th. And this conjunction is in a square to Saturn. Okay, so there's something going on here. Is there property issues, relationship issues, somebody wanting to move out, somebody wanting to come back in? Like, what's going on here? For many single Scorpios, it's good because it indicates somebody may come in very quickly, and it doesn't have to just be relationships. It could be people that you work with. It can end up being somebody that ends up being somebody that you hire or somebody that you meet on the job, because Mars rules your natal 6th house. But Scorpio risings, you are Mars, right? So I'm going to look at the traditional ruler. So as Mars is going into the 7th, which means there's a lot of action that you have when it comes to relationships, you're kind of pushing others around a little bit, or you're gravitating towards others. For somebody who's looking to partner with someone, so if you want to find a partner, if you want to get into a relationship, if you want to suddenly meet somebody and move, great energy. If you're in a relationship currently, if you're married or if you're partnered, it tells me that there is a need to kind of take a step back a little bit and not be entirely too aggressive. A lot of Scorpio risings are learning with the South Node going through their sign and Saturn in the 4th that if you're not careful in how you navigate relationships, romantically or with family, you can push people too far to the point where they're like, I'm leaving the house. And that's the conjunction to Uranus square Saturn. And it triggers a lot of Scorpio risings because it brings something up that's either like triggering them because of past relationships where like somebody, up and walked out of your life, or there was abandonment issues with family, or, it's bringing up some kind of trauma there. And part of you doesn't want to repeat the past, but the other part of you is also kind of like, this person is like really hard to deal with, and part of it's because you're unintentionally kind of bringing that out of them. The 7th house is where we deal with conflict. So we can see through these transits that if you hash the past out, and if you explain to people where you're getting triggered, or if you're explaining to people what you're afraid of or what you've been through, or maybe they're talking to you about issues that they're having, right? That could be the other way that I look at it, and issues that they're dealing with emotionally. You can find more peace within the physical home space. Look for partners that might live in other places. I'm especially saying that because the square is to your moon. You're going to be learning that, through these squares, and Saturn on your moon, it might bring up the fact that, is it time to move? Is it time to, go into a different neighborhood or to pick up and go into a different place? 20 years of normal changes, definitely looking at the next year's life. Yeah. So I think for you personally, it's actually going to be about Saturn in the fourth. Like, where do we want to be for a substantial period of time, And Saturn on your moon is like, is it going to be somewhere else? Are we going to be somewhere else for a substantial period of time? I think Saturn on your moon is great because that does tell me that the way that you're communicating, like what it is that you want in your environment down the road, like, okay, I want to be close to a golf course, or I want to be close to where there's art or music or whatever. That moon says that you need something that's going to be stimulating, and you need something that's going to bring you like a sense of community. Yeah, well, here's the thing, okay? Rule works because the Mars North Node Uranus, for a lot of Scorpio risings, you're going to start noticing with your partner that they're going to want to be gardening or like living a much more like a natural lifestyle or whatever, or you're going to be meeting people who are like, yeah, I'm an urban farmer. And you're like, what? Because these people are part of your future. Uranus is the future. Uranus rules your fourth house. So if in the future it is smart to be living more self-sustainably or growing your own food or having chickens or whatever, then you're going to meet people who are going to do that, or your partners are going to have an interest in that, and that's because that's where your life is going, and you need people to help you actually make that change, if that makes sense. I would say, cool, if you're not having relationship issues, that's awesome. High five through the internet. I'm happy to hear that. But you are coming into your Saturn opposition. So there is going to be some stuff that is going to happen going into the new year where there is a little bit of like, okay, are we seeing eye to eye about where we're actually moving and what we're doing? When Saturn leaves the house, he leaves a gift. So likely you will find that maybe when Saturn comes out of the square with Uranus, we're getting into next year, and maybe it starts doing some other things. Like when it starts coming into a trine with Uranus, it's going to be easier to kind of like settle into a new space. Start a spiritual podcast and enjoy the meeting. Yeah, awesome. I love that. I mean, I think for you personally, like Jupiter's on your South Node, so it's a really great time for you to shine, and I think you're using your own personal talents to be able to bring other people in. Spiritual can be Uranus, it can be healers and people who are into metaphysics and astrology and all that stuff. So the Mars North Node Uranus is like you're bringing those other people, right? And Uranus is the airwaves, so you will connect possibly with other people that have some kind of recognition, seventh house, who suddenly, come in and they help you at the podcast, or they talk to you on the podcast, and then their exposure brings attention to you. So you might start working with, some really kind of out there people. Yeah, that's definitely what I think is going to start happening. But very exciting, the fact that it's trining your Venus and your Sun. That's wonderful for you. I think that you're really expanding the type of people that you can be partnering with. Great way to use that energy. That way there isn't any friction in relationships. I'm really happy to hear that. Drop the podcast. I would love to see what it is and tune in and see what you've got going on. Very exciting. Got Nancy. What's up, Nancy? I know this is hitting your chart. I know that for a fact from what I remember. Let's plug you in. (9583). And that's at 7:45 p.m. Oh, and you were born in Houston. Okay, cool. Pisces rising, the sun in Virgo, and the moon in Leo. You got an offer to fine dining restaurant. Well, look at you. You got it, girl. I'm looking at the conjunctions that are happening for you. It's in your second house. Spiritual Freedom Podcast. Awesome. Thank you. It's in your second house. So suddenly getting a job, making money, working with your hands, working with food. The square to Saturn, the trine to your sun, the trine to your descendant, and also the moon sitting on your descendant as well. So bringing in new people. Possibly making new relationships with other people that you're working with. So you might meet someone because of that trine. It's kind of funny in your chart because really the only significant aspect it's making is that trine. Yes, there's a loose square to your Mars. Mars is the ruler of the second, but I think that that's pushing you to get into a space where you can really show your creativity and possibly like make more money. So there's like a need to kind of like really show your talent and kind of stand out. Taurus can be rich, things that are sweet. So cakes, I mean, that would be more 19, but we might see because it is conjunct that degree that that's possible. But this is about being perfect, like perfecting something, right? 18 degrees is like getting it right. It can also be things that are natural, that are healthy, that you're focused on working on things that are going to be like raw or organic or whole foods and not wanting to mess with anything, wanting to keep it more in its natural state. You may also just find that this is about helping and like being of service, and that there may be something that comes from this where you like learn more about the service industry, you learn more about giving people what they want, you learn how to perfect something in some way. But yeah, it's not really heavily aspected for you other than the trine to your 7th house, which I feel like is bringing in more opportunities to collaborate with people and possibly have clients or have people who want to hire you and you're able to make more money. It is going to like be in a slight square to your Mars, but I feel like this is just, like I said, about, you know, being a perfectionist and getting things done. I feel like it's a little too wide of an orb to square your Venus and your Moon. By sign it does, which still, even when I look at this, it's going to be about, you know, how you're getting along with other people and showing up and getting the job done. The trine to the Moon, which is the ruler of the 5th, I think could be giving you the experience and opening up and making it possible for you to develop more of your own talents and possibly open the door. So if you did want to work somewhere like this and getting to the point where you feel like you could go off and do your own company, you could do that. It's the other way that I see it. It is in a square with Saturn, so it does tell me that there is like this feeling of like, okay, is this too good to be true? How long is like the job going to hold out for? You know, how long am I going to be able to make what I'm making in terms of pay? But I think with that being in the 2nd house, it's really strong because it's saying it's kind of setting the stage for your worth. So from now on, you're going to make this much or more. So there is a lot of room for growth in terms of your earning capability and what you're able to be bringing in. The square to Saturn, I think, is just also in relation to like goals and stuff. It can also be talking about working behind the scenes. Possibly you being in a situation where there is long hours, you are kind of working, you know, behind in a restaurant somewhere and you're practicing things and you're taking time to kind of be on your own so you can really like fully develop certain techniques. That could also be like, I think cuisines that are different for you. So I wonder, you know, is there a spin to this where it's like food that you're not used to cooking or that you don't have a lot of experience in? So you're going to be studying and learning how to do some of the stuff behind the scenes. That's really like the big takeaway. You'll hear for Virgos in general, oh, this is happening, you know, in your 9th house and it's about travel and education and all that stuff. Maybe, but for you, it happens to be in the 2nd. So what are you learning about the cuisine? What's different here? How are you learning more about ways to develop your personal talents? Also, your palette, like the 2nd house can be your palette. So there can be a much more refined palette that can actually come from working in a space like this. Fun fact also, Mars in the 2nd deals with knives and knife collections. So to me, it looks like you're going to be spending a little bit more money on being like, okay, I'm going to have some nice stuff to work with. So you might find that you're splurging or spending a little bit more money and having a really nice set of knives or other things that you might be using to kind of cook or to be able to prep as well. That's the other way that I could look at it. But great earning potential here. I really feel like this is setting the stage for you to not only develop some like really amazing skills and a finer palette, but also just raising the bar in terms of what your worth is and really setting yourself up down the road to have great experience, but also have a little bit of something that has a little bit more weight on your resume, so you can really keep that going with your salary expectations in the future. So it looks really great for you, Nancy. Very exciting. Guys, it has been real. It has been fun. It's been real fun. I've been here for 2 hours. We got everybody in. So thank you guys to those of you guys who donated. You got a reading. If you guys hung out and you watched, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know where you're watching from. Thank you for spending your Sunday night with me. So I appreciate that. If you guys haven't already seen it, I've got an astro weather out. I do all of the astrology overview for August of 2022. That came out this morning. And we've got 3 hours of horoscope. So if you want to see what I have to say about all these wacky transits for your sun, moon, or rising sign, check out the videos on my channel. You want to book a reading, check out my links below at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I would love to chat with you. And if you subscribe to my channel, or if you want to become a member, you can support and you can make it possible for me to keep creating this content. I want to do more stuff for you guys in terms of continuing education. Right now we're putting out 4 videos a week, so we do a live every Saturday usually, and 3 other videos. So I'm always talking about the new moons, the full moons, all of the transits, and now I'm starting to teach and I'm doing webinars. So if you want to learn with me, check out my website. You can go and check out my beginner's astrology program. It is available, 8 classes, over 18 hours of lecture, homework, the whole 9 yards, and I will teach you how to read a natal chart the way that I do. So yes, there will be a 102. We're planning on doing level 2 astrology, where I'm going to talk about return charts and synastry and transits, and I'm probably going to do like 3 levels. 3 minimum, but there will definitely be 3 levels. So if you guys like that, check it out. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you guys very soon. I hope you enjoy this conjunction, and everybody, yeah, be ready for change because it's a big one. All right, take care.